On Friday, the 16th of May 2025, Westminster Abbey will stir before dawn as choristers rehearse scales that echo under the Tudor hammerbeam roof. Outside, police cordons are set, news trucks idle, and the faint smell of warm paraffin drifts from street lamps polished for the occasion. By 9 o'clock, the crimson banners of the Most Honourable Order of the Bath catch a London breeze that tastes faintly of spring rain and diesel. A slow drum roll from the corps of drums signals that one of Britain's rarest state services, held only every fourth year, has begun. King Charles III, 76, will arrive without trumpet fanfare, his limousine easing beneath the north ambulatory arch once cleared for Elizabeth II, George VI, and, if you follow the Abbey's oral legend, even for Victoria's miniature phaeton. Inside, the monarch will pause to touch a carved wooden angel, worn smooth by generations of sovereign fingertips, before processing toward the Cosmati pavement. The Order of the Bath turns 300 this week, yet its origins reach to the Crusades, when would-be knights washed at sunrise as priests intoned blessings over steel so new it still smelled of forge. That vigil of cleansing, forgotten by most modern sword-bearers, gave the order its curious name, an ablution marking moral readiness before royal service. George I, wary of rewarding only landed peers, founded a structured order on the 18th of May 1725. He signed letters patent that grouped honorees into Knights Companion, each granted a stall in Henry VII's Lady Chapel where candlelight flickers across alabaster saints. Those letters, conserved today in silk-lined boxes, still bear tart aromas of 18th-century sealing wax. They defined the motto Tria Juncta in Uno, three joined in one. Historians debate whether the triad refers to Trinity, to England, Scotland, Ireland, or to a statesman's balance of army, navy and treasury. Whatever the intent, the phrase has survived Jacobite uprisings, reform bills, suffrage marches, 2 world wars, and a cyber-century. Its endurance proves that a simple Latin clause can thread continuity through social revolutions that rewrote almost everything else. Charles knew those words before he could recite the prelude to Henry V. In 1975, his mother placed the heavy collar of Great Master upon his shoulders. The chain's gold roses, thistles and shamrocks clinked like miniature bells against his chest, each link a county's loyalty hammered into metal. That collar lies ready again, this time for Prince William, 42, whose own education blended infantry drills on Salisbury Plain with seminars on coral reef decline at St. Andrews. He will kneel, receive the same weight of history, and rise carrying a role that once shaped his father's sense of duty. Not every responsibility of Great Master is public. Behind glass doors at St. James's Palace, the office approves nominations, audits insignia workshops in Birmingham's Jewellery Quarter, and drafts statutes in syntax as meticulous as watch gears. The new holder will also wrestle with 21st-century questions. How to keep honors meaningful when algorithms chase attention spans in single-digit seconds. 5 debut Knights Grand Cross will share William's spotlight. General Sir Aidan McAllister masterminded NATO logistics that moved 1.2 million tons of material across 8 rail gauges during the 2023 Ukraine surge. Dame Dr. Leena Chowdhury, quantum mathematician, developed post-quantum encryption shielding the government's secure intranet from algorithmic decryption. Vice Admiral Julia Kerrigan commanded the Royal Fleet Auxiliary through the pandemic, turning hospital ships into floating vaccination hubs. Lord Harcourt, ambassador to the Pacific Compact, brokered a climate treaty that funnels £9 billion into coral regeneration. Professor Caleb Okoye revolutionized battlefield prosthetics with adjustable 3D printed titanium joints, now standard issue for Allied medics. Each will sign the oath swearing to honor God above all things, love the King, and defend injured innocents, archaic phrasing that still prompts a distinct tightening of shoulders. Their stall plates, enameled copper shields, have been fired twice at 840 degrees Celsius and polished until you can see the choir candles dancing in them. Westminster Abbey is more than backdrop, it is co-author. Benedictine monks broke the ground here in 1245, and masons have added details ever since. A carved peach hidden in the misericords, a kingfisher feather trapped in medieval mortar, a gargoyle that resembles a modern television camera. Such minutiae remind visitors that institutions evolve by accumulating subtleties rather than by rewriting themselves overnight. 39 coronations beat a tattoo upon the memory of these stones. So do state funerals. The unknown warrior lies 10 steps from the Bath procession route, his marble slab slightly sunken by boots of mourners from Hague to Herriman to Hamilton. The service's production schedule rivals a military operation. Royal Mews grooms rose at 3 a.m. to braid horses' manes for a potential wet weather carriage backup, though meteorologists forecast only light clouds. Overnight, seamstresses steamed mantles in travel boxes lined with unbleached calico to prevent static that might cling to the order's white satin lining. The crimson fabric derives from cochineal dye, an insect pigment once worth its weight in silver. Aniline substitutes now spare beetles, but the color remains a near-infrared hue calibrated to match swatches archived under low-oxygen glass since 1890. A single mantle requires 23 meters of cloth, 15 covered buttons, and 40 hours of hand hemming. Tailors admit robes are so voluminous that an inexperienced knight risks stepping on the train during the second verse of I Vow to Thee, My Country. Robe makers practice in corridors using substitute drapes of dust sheets, marking corner turns with masking tape. It looks comic scene from above, yet one mistimed swirl could tangle a procession televised to 500 million viewers. Inside the abbey, glow tape marks each halt point. A tiny phosphorescent dot at the tomb of Richard II, another at the coronation chair's base. These guides allow the Dean's verger to tap his staff exactly where his medieval predecessor once signaled the start of Compline. Trumpeters from the household cavalry armored in silver-plated cuirasses will fanfare at 96 decibels, the threshold where the Abbey's conservation trust permits amplification without endangering stained glass windows. Sound engineers tested resonance using pink noise bursts at 5 a.m., a sonic avalanche that startled pigeons resting on St. Margaret's roof. The music list bridges 6 centuries. Thomas Tallis's motet, If Ye Love Me opens, Debbie Wiseman's newly commissioned anthem Concordia closes, layering plainchant over Phrygian strings. In rehearsal, choristers joked that the chord sequence felt like TikTok meets Tudor, but their youthful humor dissolves once they don red-striped ruffs. When the king reaches the sanctuary steps, he will pause for a chapter prayer led by the dean, then step onto the Cosmati pavement, a mosaic of porphyry, onyx, and glass laid in 1268. Medieval masons embedded a brass inscription, predicting the world's end in 19,683 years. Scholars assure us the Bath's tricentenary does not trigger doom. At 11:13, Prince William will kneel. The king's arm, still steady despite recent illness, will rest the sword of state upon his son's right shoulder, then left. Observers will note the subtle nod between them, a silent exchange of memory, mother to son, son to son. After installation, 5 new knights advance. General McAllister's chest ribbons already hold a military cross and a joint service commendation. The new star will ride above them, 8-pointed silver burnished last night with jeweller's rouge. Dame Chowdhury, unused to uniform, practiced fastening her sash with pearl hat pins to prevent slippage on silk. Each kneels on a velvet cushion passed down since the 1815 Waterloo investitures, the tassels frayed where once they brushed the spurred boots of Arthur Wellesley. Their oaths echo into camera microphones designed to mute traffic rumble from Parliament Square. Beyond ritual lies calculus. A government communications service briefing notes that public recognition events boost civil service retention by 9% over 3-year cycles. Defense chiefs emphasize moral component, honors reassure troops that risk and expertise are visible at the highest level. Economists at Visit Britain estimate Royal Heritage draws £2.8 billion annually, a figure that dwarfs the sovereign grants, £86 million. Analysts note spikes in Abbey ticket sales after every live stream, proof that pageantry translates into paid footfall within weeks. Not every metric is financial. A 2024 study by the Institute for Government recorded that 61% of respondents aged over 40 viewed the monarchy as important to national identity, dropping to 47% among those under 30. Ceremonies such as this, televised in 4K, aim to narrow that generational gap by offering narrative rather than mere nostalgia. Social media dashboards in the Palace Press Office monitor sentiment during the service, scanning 2,000 tweets per minute for profanity and misinformation. Analysts expect peaks around the sword touch moment and the choir's treble descant. An algorithm flags any conspiracy phrase for human review before trending charts recycle it online. Meanwhile, Westminster Council counts hotel occupancy. Fully booked rooms stretch from Victoria to Paddington, rates up 32% over the previous weekend. Local cafes extend opening hours. Abbey Bookshop staff stock an extra 3,000 souvenir guides trimmed in crimson foil. Inside the cloister, librarians display artifacts rarely moved. Admiral Lord Nelson's stall plate, flecked where sea air corroded gilding, Florence Nightingale's star, its points dulled by lamplight on Crimean wards, Nelson Mandela's honorary badge. A tactile link between Cape Town's Robben Island and Westminster's echoing aisles. Each relic whispers that the order bridges continents as well as centuries. Today 2 honorary companions come from Australia and Indonesia, representing alliances more recent than the Abbey's oldest oak beam, yet woven now into the same crimson fabric. After the blessing, the royal party retreats through the Great West Door as household cavalry trumpeters serenade the gathered crowd. Mount stamp, guards salute, and a collective hush rolls across Parliament Square before applause breaks the spell. The King departs for a short drive up the Mall, where palace chefs have prepared a luncheon of Cornish crab, Welsh lamb and Kent strawberries, an edible map of realms he swore to serve. Prince William hosts the freshly installed knights in the Waterloo Chamber, under Daniel Mackay's murals. Wine stewards pour Sussex sparkling, emblem of a new English viticulture renaissance. Beyond cameras, the administrative grind resumes. Clerks record each oath in vellum ledgers, using oak gall ink that will outlast the digital cloud. Seamstresses fold mantles into archival boxes filled with moth-repellent cedar, ready for 2029. Yet resonance travels farther. General McAllister will wear his badge at NATO HQ in Brussels next month. Dame Chowdhury's star will glitter beside graphene prototypes in a Cambridge lab. Admiral Kerrigan's crimson ribbon will board the hospital ship Nightingale bound for Fiji to fix cyclonic aftermath. Their insignia spark curiosity in corridors of power, reminding observers that Britain's honours are not decorative, but declarative. Symbols of skills validated by scrutiny, sacrifice measured, and service recognised. For Charles, the day affirms a promise voiced on accession: I shall strive to serve you with loyalty, respect and love. His presence, even after a demanding year of health challenges, signals that ceremonial stewardship remains integral to constitutional stewardship. For William, great mastership adds weight to his existing causes: climate resilience, early childhood well-being, veterans' mental health. He must decide how to keep an 18th century order relevant in a synthetic intelligence decade, perhaps by encouraging nominations from cyber defense or space command. Critics may call such traditions ornate, but history suggests that institutions endure not by abandoning formality, but by infusing form with new substance. The Bath's robes remain scarlet, yet within them now stand quantum physicists, paramedics, and climate diplomats. Continuity survives by welcoming novelty. As sunset gilds St. Margaret's spire, a lone piper plays Highland Laddie, notes curling into the golden hour. Tourists drift toward Westminster Bridge, still discussing mantles and mottos, while Abbey wardens lock oak doors that have creaked since Chaucer. Ceremony is over, yet its afterglow will color think tank white papers, newspaper cartoons, and 1,000 family photographs snapped beneath fluttering banners. Threads of royal scarlet sew themselves quietly through the patchwork of modern citizenship. Next month the narrative shifts north to Edinburgh, where the Order of the Thistle assembles in St. Giles Cathedral. Emerald velvet will replace crimson satin, bagpipes the brass fanfare, and ancient questions of Scottish identity will hum beneath stained glass. We will stand there too, tuned for dirks, psalms and the diplomacy of four nations walking a shared but evolving path.